How's it going, guys? We're going to take a quick look at the market. There's a lot of stuff happening today, and we had a decent sell-off on Bitcoin. And let's do the overview very quickly here. We're going to start. I think we're going to start with the weekly, and then jump down to the 4-hour, and then go and look at some of these other time frames for us to cover today. So try to listen carefully. Overall, we have this massive weekly sell-off, right? So this sell-off is more happened just within a day, right? So we're having this open, and now we're having the sell-off back in towards this candle open, right? And then we're having left a wick below there. There's a lot of interesting PA. So in terms of the weekly, I don't want to emphasize too much because there's not a lot of information except what we discussed in previous streams and videos is that we're having 1, 2, now 3 weeks at the low. So we have one range, right? So we have a range within a range, and now we're creating a new range within this particular new range, okay? So what makes this important to understand is that at some point this will turn into some kind of accumulation or distribution pattern, or we can of course go lower and then create. But overall, I want you to focus on this structure because this structure will give strength to either sell off. So let's just hypothetically just draw here a distribution pattern, right? So if you're getting at this large distribution pattern, we should easily move down towards, let's say, 40k as an example, even lower potentially than towards 30k, right? That would be a really large distribution phase, and then this will turn into a larger accumulation phase for higher prices. Okay, now if this turns into a shallow reaccumulation, and then we just continue and send, that will be decent, and at some point, we might go parabolic and then come all the way back down. But if this draws out for a longer period of time, creates sort of a larger range, that would also be fairly strong for much further upside. Okay, so this is what we're working with in terms of the weekly chart, right? Which uses many months and many weeks to unfold, right? So these ideas I'm talking about is like 6 months ahead of time, right? They're not something that might or that I think will happen anytime soon. Let's go into the 4-hour chart here, where I think most of the interesting parts are happening. Even 8 hours is good. I don't want to focus too much on the daily because the structure is very obvious. If this is bearish, we're coming back down towards the 50 and 40k mark. It's very similar to the weekly in terms of levels, even though the structure has more details that we can discuss in terms of price action. The actual levels that we are watching on a daily is the same ones that we are watching on a weekly. Okay, so we don't really, no point going into that. Now, in terms of the 8-hour chart, we can discuss this one as well. So I think this is actually pretty sort of nice looking chart. We can go lower in terms of liquidity. Will be a lot of liquidity sitting at these potential lows, but at the moment we are actually reacting to this consolidation, the core at those given levels. Okay, and we're creating sort of a nice bottom formation there, and at least coming back up, in my opinion, and filling in some of the void within these sort of candles. But keep in mind that I think we're meeting the body open of some of these previous weekly bars, right? So I think that should be probably around these levels is some of the opens, and we might get some reactions around those levels, right? But at least we can dig deeper into this cloud. You can see we're finding some decent support there, but we might go even deeper on that, right? That's something to be aware of. Now, in terms of the 4-hour chart, we're actually starting to get if this closes like this, 3 buy signals, and I think that has never happened. We had one buy signal then, and at these lows, and then you see price coming back up. We also had a buy signal right there, but that was a bit too early. Even though the PA was decent, we had a small bounce from that. Now, if you look to the previous here, you can see that from this sell-off, we're having a lot of buy signals here, but more obvious, I think this is the bottom place where we had 2 signals very close to each other, around 40,000, and you can see what happened afterwards, right? And before that, I don't think we had any major ones. You can see we had one buy there, one buy signal right there, one right there. And we prefer to have these buy signals. They are very valid after, right? So you prefer to have buy signals. You have the consolidation when price comes back up and you get some kind of price action like this, and then you have a buy signal either below that low or either below that. That's the ones that are the strongest sort of buy signals, right? And at the moment we're getting something similar, right? Because this one was a bit too shallow, even though it was actually valid. And I think even in terms of price action, it was valid. But the lower we go, and the higher probability there is. But in terms of these signals, I think this should be regarded pretty strong, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen previously, because it shows a lot of strength, a lot of momentum driven after sort of a liquidation cascade into these lows. And I can see price drawing back up, right? And I think, let's check the 1 hour chart. Yeah, even on the 1 hour chart, you have two decent buy signals right there. So a lot of stuff was happening at the lows here. The book was wiped, right? And perps was absent at this given time. And the spot buying was leading this, okay? And hence you're getting this really aggressive candlestick formation, and we're getting these sort of buy signals. We don't have them on the 8 hour here, but I think regardless, there's a few good cases to be made here. And that overall, the thing is that I want you guys to focus on, all right, so we might go lower, right? We might go into these lows. This might also be sort of a temporary cycle top. And we might do a larger prolonged correction if the equities nuke. Totally right, that's absolutely on the table. But at the same time, I want you guys to focus on that. If this is a bullish, if you're in a bull market and this is a bullish structure, and the Federal Reserve is ready and the government is ready to help the market at this point, I think that's something to take into consideration, and that that we can, that this here is a bullish range, and we're moving into the lower part, and you can really put a lot of pressure. And if these shorts that are piling in gets blown up, there's going to be a lot of liquidity there to send price a lot, and I mean a lot higher, right? So I think also in terms of the RR, longing always outperforms shorting, right? Shorting should be at some times when you feel that the market is overly cooked, right? It's because it takes to get a successful short, the timing have to be absolutely perfect, right? But when you're getting into longs, a lot of the time the timing doesn't need to be perfect, right? And overall the timing in terms of getting into longs is always really favorable after a decent sell-off. So when you get a decent sell-off, that's when it's really favorable to enter long positions, okay? So that was a quick overview of Bitcoin. I think this is a bottom formation that is very important to watch and see how we unfold the next hours in the day. But it's something to take with us and note and watch very closely, at least in my opinion. Okay, so let's see how things unfold overall here. I think we have a very strong case. If you take a look here, this is a bit lower time frame, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to some to some of these other charts here. Sorry guys, let me just find the one I was watching here. We can do a quick one on FTM. We sold off on the 4 hour below the cloud, right? So we're sitting, you can see what happened with the wick here. As soon as we moved below the cloud, you had this massive buyback. It's not that the cloud is magic, it's just what's happening in terms of PA. If you look here to the left of the chart, you can see all of these wicks, right? This consolidation, and the price moves into that low liquidity area, and the cloud basically just shows that, right? Because it's an average price, and that's a low average price, and you can see you're getting a potential buyback. Okay, so overall, this is also could be a good bottoming formation in terms of structure wise, that we're hitting these levels this week, okay, and then we can draw back up the range in towards these range highs and potentially even higher. That's both good cases for a good trade. And this is the 4-hour structure. If you go to the 8-hour, and we're also hitting the 8-hour cloud, right, which is really good, right? So the best part would be to hit in towards the 0.7 mark, but at the same time, the 0.7 mark is a bit extreme. Of course it can happen. I'm not saying that we could have wiped into that, but we're seeing this kind of buyback at this given time. Is a very good bullish candle. To me, suggests that buyers are stepping in here, and even if we go lower, I think that will be just a stronger sort of position. We're having this is the 100 EMA, this is the 200 EMA, right? So because remember that the cloud is based on 100 and 200 EMA, so the top is 100, the bottom is 200, okay? And the range we are working with then is the 100 to 200 EMA average price. And in terms of, even though this is the absolute best entry, a lot of times you won't get that best entry. On some coins you might get them, but if you're not witnessing it at that given time, and then sometimes you also want to take the trades where the one that you are actually getting in is the stronger rather than the weaker, right? So NEAR is a good example of this. Let's take a look here on NEAR if you have that. I didn't watch it on this part. That's fine. So on NEAR here on the 8-hour chart, we actually rated into the lows on the 8-hour chart, right? We nuked below here as well as the cloud, massive buyback, and now we at the top there, okay? And at the top, it should also be some kind of a temporary resistance quite often. But this is a perfect entry, right, in terms of price. And you can see that we have a buy signal, strong 8-hour buy signal is very strong. You can see that we're having a lot of sell signals. Sell signals are not very important in a bear market, sorry, in a bull market. It just shows that what's called that we potentially, or it's a good buying opportunity because it just shows that you had a sell-off and that is getting overbought, basically. Overbought, more overbought, right? But the buy signals are more important because they don't come often, because we don't get oversold with momentum in these sort of times, okay? So let's go back, into these ones that are most interesting in my opinion. Then I think FTM is good. I think Ocean shows a good structure on the 8-hour, even though I would prefer this level will be absolutely smashing and perfect to get a good signal within these levels. But at the same time, that will be a bit on the lower spectrum, okay, because you can see how we hit it. We don't really want to retest too much of the lower part of these clouds if we're having momentum behind us. Regardless, you can see that we're having these consolidation, this SR point, okay, so we're hitting at a good level, right? And the level is in itself is good, and we also have this pin bar, this buyback that we saw, and whatever price does here, I think we can draw back up into this range and then sort of see what we can create in terms of price action. Maybe something similar to this structure, even something similar to this structure, right? Just to get, I don't know, something at least back up seems reasonable. If not, a bit lower is totally fine in terms of good trading opportunities. Solana, I'm not going to discuss too many of these. If you watch Solana, we're going to stick with the 4-hour. All weekly charts are overextended, right? So at this point, we just you just have to print in your brain that we are overextended on a high time frame. We know it, but we're trying to take risk to trade price higher. Every single time we're having massive liquidation cascade, we view that as an opportunity. Every time price sells off in towards the cloud on whatever average price we can get it, we take that as an opportunity. If we are wrong, we're waiting lower for a better opportunity, right? That's sort of the mindset I think we should stick with. And here's where we're having a 4-hour buy signal. It looks like a strong range, in my opinion, is very similar to Bitcoin. This is the consolidation that we are reacting to. The void is below there, as you can see, the wicks, right? There will be liquidity lower there. If you would sell off into that, I think that would also be a good trade. Doesn't really matter, but I'm just pointing that out. But I think, you know, at this point, if everything moves, I want you guys to be aware that we hit the cloud. We have a buy signal. Okay, so in terms of price action, this is very good, right? So this is favorable PA to get long in terms of the 4-hour structure. Even if potentially the daily and the weekly at the moment doesn't look that good, right? But you can argue that we had a sell-off there with liquidation cascade and whatever. The price is actually ready to send higher, right? So, you know, you have to make up your mind. You know, you want to be very careful waiting on the fence, or you want to take some risk, you know, and then try to trade these opportunities, of course, with risk in place, so you don't lose all your money if you are wrong. Okay, stacks as well. I think this looks really, really good. So I tried to trade. It was very difficult to trade, but the 4-hour, the 8-hour, look at that. We touched the band there, right? And you can see from previously that we're having many times low liquidity, that we're actually retesting these bands quite often, or not often, but every once in a while, and we had that. We might go deeper this time into, you know, some of these ranges in terms of the cloud, but except that, I do think this can be a very favorable trade. Okay, you know, on a daily and a weekly, it doesn't look too good. All right, I totally agree with that, but at the same time, you know, this could be the bottom wick, right? And then see how we trade within these levels, because once this starting to reverse like this, and if momentum gets slammed to the upside, it's going to be a hell of a candle. Okay, so that's something I'm watching very closely as well. So that's about it, guys. I don't want to discuss too much Rune. I don't think it's ready yet. Dogecoin is pretty good level here, not gonna lie. It looks quite good as well, but I don't want to be too aggressive right there at the moment. Let's just quick look at WIF as well. We're trading very high, so it's quite difficult, but this looks like a breakout structure, right? Especially due to this week, it seems there's a lot of liquidity sitting there. We might eat through that. I'm going to show you a bit on an even lower time frame as well. But worst case scenario at the moment, we could potentially, you know, move into this and then move higher. You know, that would be, you know, if perfection existed, and if it was weak relative, I think that would be at a good level into the $3 mark. That would be very good. But at the moment, we're having the $4 as sort of the support right now. If we take this to, let's check the 30-minute. If you look at this here, it's a very beautiful range, in my opinion. We're having, you know, we rated the low right there with a strong, we rated the low with a strong buyback. We took out the highs. So, you know, we can argue that this is a high, and that, in my opinion, that we might gonna just do a higher low and then move higher. So the formation here could be like this. Okay, give me a second. Let's take this away. So the formation, in my opinion, could be something like this. Okay, so then the entry, you know, would be something like that. Okay, and then move higher into a retest of the previous range. Okay, and that's something I'm looking to potentially trade. I'm already in a position, and we ladder in for a response in price. There's a lot of void below here, so I think, in my opinion, I think this should hold price. To be honest, I think this is sort of what we're gonna get in terms of width, and then take out these highs and move into the highs potentially towards towards the $5 mark. I think that looks very reasonable. If you look here on the 8 hour as well, you know, look at this, having two small body candles and this large body candle. You know, this is extremely bullish price action, regardless of outcome, what happens afterwards. Just to point out a few of these times, let's see if we can get the circle. Sorry guys, 1 second. Where's the circle? Right there is a decent example. I also think I think this right there is a good example. These candles are a good example. I think these candles just above there is a good example of the kind of price action that we can expect. Especially, you know, the strength of this one, you know, is remarkable. Doesn't mean because we're sitting, you know, if this was at a support level, it is a support level, but we're hanging above thin air, right? You know, if you're getting this kind of structure that we are seeing, is one of the most bullish ones when they are at support. We are not at support at the moment. We are at the SR, right? Support, I mean, like, if that were happening, you know, close to these levels, right? So if we had something like this around these levels, right there, and having this kind of price action, that would be perfection, right? But we you know, we have to trade it. When I see it, I trade it. You know, it doesn't matter what happens afterwards. You know, you take the risk involved with it. Okay. And if you look at the lower time frame, you can see that the band as well is very close to the lower part right there. On the 1 hour, on the 30 minute, we are just, you know, starting to flip it, right? So we haven't lost any kind of momentum just yet, even on a 15 minute. Which band is this? Is this the same? Yeah, it's the 100, 200. So that's really good, to be honest, right? So, and then we're having the 4 hour slightly lower. So we're just basically front running all algorithms, in my opinion, and this might just continue to send. Okay, so that's about it for now, guys. Let's talk later. Peace out.